My name is Natalia. I'm a 50-year-old working housewife. This year marks my 25th anniversary with my husband, Silas. We couldn't have children due to our health conditions, so it's just the two of us. It would have been nice to have a peaceful marriage life after turning 50, but my marriage with Silas is far from ideal. I'm home. TCH, you're back already. All you can do is work. You should work harder. When I get home, Silas is usually lounging on the sofa, fiddling with his smartphone. He glances at me, clicks his tongue, and spits out those words. Well, today the business meeting ended early. I bought some deli food from the mall at the station. Must be nice not doing housework. Just picking up food without having to think. Do you think that's going to make me happy? It's not like that. Silas stands up from the sofa, visibly irritated, sighs heavily, and goes into his room. I wonder when he started treating me like this. I remember him being a much kinder, ideal husband around the time I quit my job to start my own small company. It's your dream to start a company, Natalia. I want to support that. He used to say that and volunteered to take care of the house. It was a huge relief not to worry about household chores while I was busy setting up my company. For a while, I was working hard outside, and Silas was handling the housework. That went on for 2-3 years. Silas initially did the housework willingly, but gradually his attitude became cold and arrogant. Now, no matter what I do at home, I'm met with sighs and tongue clicking. Whenever I try to help with the housework, he'd say, "Don't touch anything if you don't know what you're doing. I have to redo everything you do. It just adds to my work, so don't interfere with the house." So, I watched Silas redoing the chores I attempted and returned to my work, feeling dejected. He treats me terribly, but I'm honestly grateful he does the housework. My company's moderate success is definitely due to Silas's support. But how long will this continue? Another 10 years, 20 years. As I ponder, I glance at the sofa. Silas's smartphone was there, perhaps forgotten when he returned to his room. I picked up the phone, intending to place it on the table so it wouldn't get lost, and just then, the phone screen lit up. It seems like he just received a message. Had a great time at lunch today. Looking forward to dinner next time. That was the message displayed on the screen as a notification. I don't recall the name Ruby. Maybe a colleague of Silas, but it didn't seem like a message to a colleague. What's this? Even as I stood there puzzled, a series of messages adorned with hearts continued to be sent. Last week's hotel was fantastic. Let's stay overnight again. This message was decisive evidence, and it appeared just as Silas' room door opened with a loud bang. Noticing the smartphone in my hand as I stood near the sofa, Silas's eyes widened in anger. "Hey, what are you looking at?" He strode towards me with heavy steps, snatching the smartphone away as if to take it back. As he turned to go back to his room, I couldn't help but raise my voice to stop him. "Wait, Silas, who's Ruby? What's this relationship about? And a hotel?" At my questioning, Silas let out a large click of his tongue. "Huh. You read the messages. That's the worst. Even if you're my wife, it's an invasion of privacy to read that much." Privacy. I just picked up the phone you forgot, and the messages were there. More importantly, who is Ruby? That's the issue. So, the CEO has different standards, huh? Trying to dismiss someone's privacy. I'm not talking about that right now. No matter how much I pressed him for answers, Silas only kept shouting that's an invasion of privacy, and it's unreasonable to look at someone else's phone. Eventually, he yelled, "If you're going to do that, I also have my own plans," and locked himself back in his room. There was no chance for a conversation now. So, I decided to wait and see how things would unfold. For a few days after seeing Silas's smartphone screen and the messages that appeared, he completely avoided me. As soon as I got home, he'd go to his room and wouldn't come out until I left for work in the morning. I wondered if he was planning to stay in his room all day on weekends, or leave the house early and not come back all day. Amidst these farts, an incident occurred. "Silas. Hey, I need to ask you something." I was frantically knocking on Silas's room door. It was rare that I finished work earlier before him. Silas came home late as always, ignoring me and going straight to his room. Until today, I hadn't interfered with Silas's behavior, but I couldn't let it go. Without worrying about disturbing the neighbors, I banged on the door, raising my voice. Hey, come out. A credit card from my room is missing. Do you know anything about it? Yes, the black credit card I had stored in my room's drawer was missing. I hadn't moved a card for about a week, and it was locked in a drawer. I checked the rest of the room just in case, but nothing else was missing. Only the drawer's lock was opened, and the card was gone. I felt cold sweat on my back. Only Silas could have done this in our house. Maybe mentioning the card worked, as Silas soon came out of his room with a smirk, holding the card I was looking for. Do you mean this card? Yes, that. Why did you take it without permission? I had it locked up, I shrieked, and Silas deepened his smirk. Locks don't mean much when you leave the keys inside the house. It's easy to find out where they are. But to take it without asking. I told you, I have my own plans. If you're going to snoop through my phone, then I might as well enjoy using your card. Had a great time with Ruby. Shopping at designer stores, staying at luxury hotels, cost about $30,000, I guess. Make sure you pay it all off. Saying this, he carelessly threw the card down. I hurriedly picked up the card as it clattered on the hallway floor, holding my head in disbelief. What had this man done? My distraught appearance must have looked amusing to Silas. Looking down at me, he began to laugh loudly. Man, a black card is really something. You can buy anything with it. If you had something like this, you should have shared it earlier instead of being stingy. If you let me use this from now on, I might consider not divorcing you. Cutting off Silas's rambling words, I spoke in a low voice. Did you check? Huh? Check what? I mean, did you properly check the name on it? Huh? Silas, looking foolish, turned his head towards me as I thrust the card I had picked up towards him. It wasn't in my name. This card wasn't mine. It belonged to one of my fellow entrepreneurs' friends. Last week, there was a networking event among entrepreneurs in the same industry, which included drinks. I hadn't drunk much, but one of the attendees did, and decided to leave early. He was quite drunk and attempted to pay first, accidentally leaving his card at the register. The distressed staff member brought the card to our table, as I was sitting with the group. That made sense, especially since it was a black card. It seemed that the store thought it best to hand over such a thing to an acquaintance of the forgetful owner rather than keep it. Fortunately, I had plans to meet that person soon, so I agreed to temporarily keep the card to return it to him. That meeting was scheduled for tomorrow, and when I went to retrieve the card, I noticed the drawer was unlocked. That was the course of events leading up to this. Nah. No way. But this card. You've been splurging with someone else's card. You realize that's a crime, right? It's called fraudulent use. But it was in your desk. Anyone would mistake it for yours. I've been tricked. It's a fraud. Entering someone's room without permission and opening a locked drawer. Isn't that an invasion of privacy? Gah. Silas just groaned, sounding like a frog. I sighed and took out my smartphone, obviously to contact the credit card's owner. Realizing what I was about to do, Silas fell to his knees in panic, clinging to my feet, desperately pleading. Wait, please. It's a misunderstanding, just a little one. Right. The card's owner is your acquaintance, isn't it? Ask him to let it slide. Let it slide. $30,000. I mean. But I'll make sure they charge you the full $30,000. And of course, I won't help you in any way. You'll have to pay it with your own money. That's impossible. It's definitely impossible. Natalia, please. You can afford it, right? Cover for me. We're family, right? Family. At that word, I sighed again. I shook off Silas, who was clinging to my feet, and walked over to my bag. I pulled out a piece of paper. The word divorce reflected in Silas's bloodshot eyes. A divorce paper. I was filled with incredulity at his surprise in this situation. These past few days, I had someone investigate you. I thought it was odd you were living so lavishly, but to think you were playing around with someone else's card. But thanks to that, I got solid evidence. Prepare yourself because I'm also going to demand alimony for your cheating. Wah. Yes, I had hired a private investigator to follow Silas these past few days. I was aware of all his luxury shopping sprees and stays at fancy hotels. When I received the results of the investigation, I had thought his affair partner was wealthy. Wait, please, alimony. Rethink this. Look, there's no need for a divorce, right? It was just a moment of madness. Just a little fun because you weren't paying attention to me. Isn't suing for divorce and alimony a bit excessive? Excessive. You spent $30,000 with someone else's card on your affair, and you're calling a divorce excessive. That is. At my words, Silas finally crumbled to the floor. It looks like he's crying. Yet, seeing my husband of 25 years in such a state, my heart didn't stir in the slightest. He had brought it upon himself. A few months later, my divorce with Silas was finalized smoothly. At the same time, I filed for alimony due to his cheating. Silas, on the other hand, was chased by the claims for alimony and the payment demands from the credit card's actual owner, leading him to accumulate debts here and there. Most of our living expenses over the years had been paid by me. Silas, having spent his salary without saving much, had hardly any savings, which was astounding. Additionally, he still faced charges for the fraudulent use of the credit card. Naturally, he couldn't afford to pay the settlement, and it seems like he ended up in the care of the police. Given the situation, it's unlikely that his affair partner would be waiting for him once he gets out of prison. As for me, I had to move houses due to the property division during the divorce. Leaving the house I had lived in for 25 years felt a bit daunting, but I decided to take this opportunity to buy a new high-rise apartment, starting afresh in my new castle. The issue of Silas did cause some trouble among my fellow entrepreneurs' friends, but they understood it wasn't my fault, and our friendship continued unchanged. The company went public. I had always believed that my business was thriving because Silas had been supporting me. However, once my life with Silas ended, I realized that his presence had been more of a pressure than I had thought. There was no way I could relax in an environment where I was constantly met with sighs and tongue clicks upon returning home. Free from Silas, I was able to dedicate myself more to my work than ever before. I decided to do household chores in my way, and for parts I couldn't manage, I opted for professional housekeeping services. The housekeepers, efficient and cheerful, turned out to be more supportive than Silas ever was. I wished I had made this change earlier. It would have saved my friend from unnecessary trouble. But now, I'm positively stepping into a new phase of life.